Ashley, can you just start by introducing yourself? Let us know about the major that you had while you were here at Stark and what you've been doing since you graduated.
Sure. My name is Ashley Meinke, and I am a spring 2012 graduate of Kent State University at Stark, and I got a degree in applied communication. And since graduating, I obtained a job at Diebold Incorporated as a communication specialist. And basically, as a part of my job, I do a lot of internal communications, a lot of written work, a lot of oral work, presentations, that sort of thing. But I also do a lot of graphic design.
Okay. Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question about what sorts of communication skills did you pick up while you were here that you think have been the most helpful to you in your job? If you could expand on that.
Yeah, of course. You know, I think the great thing about having an applied communication degree is that it's so broad in terms of the skills that you learn. Not only are you focusing on your oral skills and written skills and all of that, but I also, in my classes, learned graphic design, you know, visual communication design, and even some video work, social media skills, all of those little pieces and parts that come in, you know, into the communication world. Yeah. And each and every one of those things that I learned in my classes, I'm now directly doing in my job as a communication specialist. As I mentioned before, I do a lot of graphic design work, and so for my job, I create our organization's newsletter. We send that out once a month, and that, you know, not only do I write the articles for that and having to hold these interviews with different associates, but then I'm having to design it into a newsletter that can be sent out through email or any other type of format. So that's the, you know, the sort of stuff that I do with my job, and it's just really interesting to see how direct it was taking those skills from the class to the job. So the degree was just perfect fit for the job that I do now.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. I mean, I always kind of tout you as sort of the poster child for applied communication, right? I mean, you knew as a freshman what you wanted to do. You made all these decisions. Can you talk a little bit about the kinds of things you did while you were here that now, kind of looking back, in hindsight, you see were really influential for you?
Sure, sure. You know, when I first stepped into college, I wasn't 100% sure of what I wanted to do. But I knew that I liked to work with people, and I knew that I liked to talk, and I knew, you know, I liked those things. And so when I stepped into, you know, applied communication, I just was open up to this world of possibilities in expressing myself and working with other people. And so one of the things that I got to do for my senior honors thesis was put on a film festival. It's the first one ever at Kent State University at Stark, and the reason why I did that is because I have a huge passion for film. And so I just combined my passion of communication and film into this one event for my senior honors thesis, and I received credits for that, you know, for my communication degree.
You earned them.
And I earned them. I received them. I earned them. No, I worked, and to comment on that, yeah, it was a hard thing to do, because I really had to step back and say, you know what, you know, to throw an entire event, I really had to take everything that I learned from, you know, event coordination to marketing, you know, public relation work even, you know, just everything kind of came together in that one event. But beyond the actual film festival that I hosted, I also worked at the school in external affairs, and so I was doing all of that work with marketing and public relations and assisting in those departments. And so everything that I did at Kent Stark just kind of revolved around my degree, which was just reinforcing everything that I was learning, and so I was constantly building my skill set, which was just awesome.
That's great. So when it came to selling your degree to your, you know, future employer, how did that go for you? Was it a hard sell? Did you have to sort of explain, or did you say applied communication and they said, oh yeah, that's wonderful, we want you, come work for us?
You know, the term applied communication isn't received as easily by employers. They're going, applied communication, you know. So, but when they hear the term communication, they know what that is, you know, and communication is a degree and a skill that can be applied to any job. So walking into these interviews for possible jobs, you know, it was actually very easy to say, you know, this is what I learned in, you know, in my education. This is how it applies to this job, and, you know, and this is how I can extend that. And it was very easy, actually, you know, because I felt that with my education, I felt entirely prepared. And learning what I learned in classes in terms of presentation skills and even nonverbal skills, how you present yourself, you know, sitting up straight, or, you know, everything, I know, you know, all of those little things count. And so when I actually interviewed for my job at Diebold, I mentioned all of the things, these are some of the classes that I took. I did throw this film festival event. I worked in external affairs. So not only did I say, hey, this is my education, this is what I earned, but I also did this, and this during my education that all revolved around those skills, and it was just, came across very well, and I got the job, so I just felt very prepared.
Yeah, and that seems more crucial now to have all those things in addition to.
Right.
It's not enough to just say, hey, I have this degree, but it's, I have this degree, here's what I can do with it, and here's what I've done on my own, outside of this degree, and I think that's something that I really appreciate about you, that you brought from here. I think it equips you well. So Ashley, what kind of advice would you have for our students? The comm student who's just getting into their major, or maybe even the student who's about to graduate?
I would have to say that my advice to the student who's just entering into their communication degree is that, make sure it's something that you love to do. Look at your strengths and then go after that. And when you find what you love to do, go after it with a sense of urgency. Make sure that you're taking full advantage of every opportunity that is available to you, not just in terms of your education, but also in terms of everything else surrounding your education. For example, I know that I mentioned earlier, I did the film festival event, I worked in a job that revolved around communications. Those type of opportunities, get involved, find volunteer work, get involved in school organizations that will continue to build your skill set. And the other part to that would be, when you're first stepping into a degree, one of the fears is, or one of the questions that a student may have is, what can I do with this degree? Are there jobs out there for this degree? And my answer to that is yes. I have a job now that is completely, direct to my degree, and so you just continue to go after what you love to do, and it'll come. So, to answer the other question, what advice would I give to a student who's getting ready to graduate? Kind of along the same lines, is just continue to go after it. Continue to put yourself out there. Continue to look for jobs. I was very lucky that only 20 days after graduation, I got my job.
That's awesome.
Which is unheard of. I feel very, very blessed.
You barely even got to rest.
Yeah. But, it can happen. And if you continue to build your education with all of these other realms, doing volunteer work, getting a temporary job, being involved in those things, it'll build your resume in such a way that when you do present yourself in an interview, it'll be gold, and there may be some time before you find that job, but as long as you keep showing that you're willing to learn, those are the types of things that are really impressive to employers.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Ashley. I mean, you're just a model example of what I hope all of our graduates are doing, and so I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Double thumbs up.